Hey guys, Jamie Rubase here. I wanted to talk to you today about customizing your view in the library module in Grid View. So many of you are familiar with maybe some of the basic viewing options in Lightroom. When you're in the library module, you'll see at the bottom that you have your grid view, and then we also have loop view if we're looking at the bottom filter bar here. We also have compare view if you want to compare two images at a time, or survey view if you want to compare more than two images. What you may not be familiar with is that when you're in grid view, there are some different customizable viewing options. The first thing that I want to talk about is the letter J on your keyboard. If you cycle through the letter J, it's going to change the way we see our thumbnails in grid view. So right now we don't see anything on our thumbnails. They're completely blank. There's no image information. There's no metadata information on our thumbnails. But if we press the letter J on our keyboard, it's going to give us a little bit more information. So it's going to give us an index number in the top left corner. It's also going to give us maybe if we've flagged any images, you might see if an image is grouped into a stack, as well as any adjustments that have been made. You'll see the little icons pop up in the corner that tells you that some develop adjustments have been made or some cropping adjustments have been made. But you really don't see any more information beyond that. However, if you cycle through J on your keyboard one more time, you're going to see a little bit more information. So up at the top, you might see your file name, the type of file that it is, whether it's a RAW file, a TIFF, a JPEG. You might even see if you've rated it or given it a color. You might be able to see that in here. So one of the cool things about cycling through these views is that there are some customizable options here when we're looking at this view. So maybe you feel like you don't need to see absolutely everything on the image thumbnail. You only want to see a specific series of information per each thumbnail just based on what's important to you. So if we go up to the top bar here, there's actually four areas, and this is in the last view mode on if you're cycling through J on your keyboard. There's actually four areas. So each corner has kind of an area of information that it can tell you. So right now I have like the camera, the file name up here in the top right, and then I have the type of file as well as the index number. This left-hand corner is blank. So we can click on any of these if we right click, and we can actually select what image information we want to include in this toolbar. So if I right click here in the top right, you can see that it says none. But let's say that in this top right toolbar, maybe I want to include the capture date and time up there. If you have a title, you can do that. Maybe you want to include the lens that you were working with. So we're going to click on lens, and then it's going to tell us this was shot with an 85, and then as we scroll down, let's see, you'll see that some of these were shot with a 35. So it gives us some image information. Okay, the same can be said for any of the other areas. So we can right click on the file name, and we can change the way we see the file name, or if the file name is not important to us, we can select from any number of these options to be able to view image information while in this view mode. So let's say we want to include this just a different way. Let's see, I think that was what I had before. We could do file base name and copy name. So we'll have the actual file name, and then it will tell us if it's a copy. So you just kind of have to cycle through, determine which one you want to include, how you want to include it. Same goes for here. Currently I have file extension set, but if that isn't important to you and you want to include something else, you can choose from a number of these options. So that's in the last J mode. But if we cycle through, we won't be able to add anything here to this view mode. This is the first J viewing mode that we had in the library module. This basically has nothing on it. The only thing that you might see is the little bar in the left-hand corner, and that just tells you it's part of a stack. If we click that open and close, it will open and close the stack of images that are grouped into that stack. If we cycle through J one more time, that's the second viewing option in our grid grid view here. It gives us a little bit more information. Now, what I wanted when I was when I was setting this up for myself was I didn't necessarily need to be in this last J view where I saw absolutely everything. When I'm kind of scrolling through images, the first J mode didn't really tell me anything about my images, and so I don't really like that mode. But I did like the second J view mode where I had kind of the index of numbers here so I can look at some just basic information. But one thing that I wanted to add to this was my star rating, because I like to see, and that's part of my workflow, I like to add star ratings to my images, and I wasn't seeing that in this view mode. So if you right click in the gray area just underneath of an image, you will be able to select from that list what image information you want to see. So for me, I wanted to see a rating and a label. So I went ahead and selected that, and now you can see that in some of the images you'll see a 5-star pop up here. And then typically what I do is once a client has selected images for an album, then I mark that as red. So this way I don't have to be in this last viewing mode where I see a lot of information. The thumbnails are a lot bigger. I've kind of customized this second viewing mode to have just the specific information as I want. So as you can see, there's different ways that you can customize the information for yourself based on what is most important to you when viewing your images. And then one more quick thing that I just wanted to review is if you right click on any image and you go down to view options, it's kind of going to take you to like a preference mode for your library view and give you a whole bunch of things that you can kind of run through and determine if you want them on or off. So again, these are just kind of some preferences of how you're going to view your images in library view. And then you also have an option for loop view as well. So when you're in the loop view, you'll have some additional preferences here that you can kind of customize based on your own preference.